to today's conversation with your lab. My name is Sean Cantrell, and I'm your host, one of them, I should say. But in today's conversation, we want to talk about how this fall is actually starting out for you. You know, this summer we had lots of plans, and some of those are working and some of those aren't. And so now that a lot of you, many of us, are actually starting our fall season, we want to talk about some of those unexpected changes that have kind of popped up that we're having to adjust to quickly for this fall season. We've been hearing things about uniform shortage delays, delaying some sports picture days. We've heard about ID cards needing additional information like suicide prevention hotline and mental health awareness hotlines and those sort of things. We've heard about school staffing shortages altering, canceling picture days altogether. And we've got hurricanes. So why not? Right? So we just want to take a few minutes as things are getting started and say, what are you seeing? How are you adjusting? And how can we all help each other and learn from each other and not have to figure this out on our own halfway through the season? But before we get into that conversation, just want to do a quick update from what's going on at the lab. From the service time text I got this morning, it looks like our school and sports package orders are shipping out of here in about 2 to 3 days, which is actually slightly ahead of where we anticipated being. Normally August to December is 4 to 6 days, depending on the size of the order. Right now, packages are 2 to 3 days. Service items are 3 to 4 days at this point. But that being said, we will get busier. Things, we are seeing those numbers steadily climb, and, those are right on track for where we expected them to be. But they are increasing. So expect service time to eventually bleed into 3 to 4 days. And we anticipate, being at 4 to 6 days in the peak of this fall. But also want to let you know that we're also starting to get reports from both FedEx and UPS about some shipping delays. So, we still may be able to maintain our service time or stay a day ahead even. We're going to continue to push on getting orders out as quickly as possible this fall, no matter what. But you do want to make sure that you are aware of some of these delays that are happening with shipping services and not getting yourselves into too tight of a timeline by hanging on to those orders too long and then hoping that FedEx will deliver the next day or in 2 days like they normally do. We are seeing some shifts, and obviously with hurricanes tracking right towards Memphis, that's going to affect things, so at least these next few days. So please give yourself extra time by getting those orders into us as quickly as possible so we can get them back to you as quickly as possible. But all that being said, if you want to stay up on those service times and you're not doing that, just text the word photo. That's PHOTO to 816-203-3803. That's 816-203-3803. Text the word photo. And then every Monday and Thursday, we give you an update on a calculation where we run over the past rolling 7 days of what are our actual service times versus what we anticipate them being. So it's a good service time text there. But enough of me there. I see David's here with us today. Welcome. How's things going? What's going on in your world, man?
The lab is going well. We have finished hiring for fall, and we started hiring in June, about 3 weeks earlier than we usually do. We got very aggressive, engaged all our managers, our marketing department, because we were afraid, frankly, how hiring was going to work out for this fall. But honestly, we could not be happier with how it's working out. We are, of course, paying more, like I think everybody is, for seasonal employees than we ever have. But we have probably one of the best crews we've ever had for this fall, and we are fully staffed. So that is a huge blessing. We are really grateful, and honestly, it's a big thank you to Katie, who's our human resources director. I think she did a call in the spring, and some of you have met Katie. She's very sharp, very capable, and she worked her butt off along with a bunch of the managers this summer to make that happen. So now it's the deal with seasonal employees is, can we keep them excited? Can we keep them engaged? Can we keep them showing up? All that sort of thing. And we're just being transparent with that whole conversation because it's real, right? And we're all going through it. So that is going very well. Also getting our systems ready for this fall. Sean and Mike and our software development teams have been doing a great job finishing up a lot of the stuff that we're really hoping to finish. The one project right now that we hope to be finishing in the next couple of weeks is the next higher level of US mail. And Sean, I don't know if you're going to talk about that later, if I should touch on that now.
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's kind of like saying, I'll not talk about that now.
Yeah,
Everyone
okay.
wants to hear about
That's
it.
true. So yeah, our intent is to continue to offer the level of US mail that we have been, which is a bulk mail system that we work with a mail consolidator in Kansas City. But we've had some requests for tracking and a higher level of parcel-based first-class mail shipping. And we're finishing up gathering all the requirements. You have no idea how complex all the different products are that we sell and package in order to be able to assign postage and do all the APIs with the post office and everything else. It is a very sophisticated project, but that is going very well, and we expect to have that. And then, our goal is Labor Day. You might give us a few days of grace after that to finish that up, but it does look like we're on track to be able to do that in the next week or two. So what that will mean is you'll be able to select a different type of US post office shipping for mail to home. So you have one order that comes in and you want to ship many of these small orders all to home. And it will also have tracking built into that. So what that will mean is there will be certain items that will not be able to go through this service. If you think about it, it can get very exponentially complex if you try to have multiple boxes that are going to the same home. So things like banners, large prints, mounted prints will not be able to go in the mail to home on this service. It'll be able to do the other service just fine because we can do multiple packages without tracking. But for this service, it will be everything that can fit in a box. And the box, the maximum size box is pretty darn big. So most things will fit, but there's a few things like some of the banners and large prints that won't be able to go, and it'll warn you that in the software, but everything else will be able to. So that's how it's looking. We're excited about having that project to you. I know there's a few people that take a deep breath with a few of your schools and a few local postmasters that have been fun to work with. So, and then as far as I think just for the fall, we're going to continue with our software and program development all the way through fall with all the different software teams are just continuing momentum. So we're going to continue to build the next level of capabilities this fall and into the first of the year. So that's about it that I came into the meeting on my mind. Do you guys have any questions? Okay. Yeah, and I think the only other thing is, of course, please keep our friends and customers in Louisiana and that south area where the hurricane is rolling through in your prayers. It is unbelievable to think this is the anniversary of Katrina, and then to have another one like this roll through. I've already checked in on some of our friends, and everybody's, I think, just gotten out of Dodge ahead of it that we've talked to. But still going back and being unsure of what's going to happen with their property and all their stuff, things like that. That's going to be heavy at a time that everyone's maybe a little bit worn out and maybe had some optimism that things are going to start to get some traction again. So please keep them in your actual prayers and in your thoughts. So and we will be doing that same thing.
Yeah, definitely. In other news, we just completed our latest Schools 101 course. I was so excited. This was our first semi-annual Schools 101 event. So this is the second Schools 101 we did in the same year. Usually that was an annual event. This is the first time we got to do the second in a single year with that. So I thought that went rather well, and I'm looking forward to more opportunities to get more education out into folks' hands so they can continue to develop and grow their businesses. So it was a really good time for me. Also, just want to make sure that you are aware that tomorrow is the last day to get 20% off your Magic Crop credits. So many of you I see here have taken advantage of that sale, but we have been running a sale for the past few weeks. And tomorrow is the last day to get 20% off pre-ordering your Magic Crop credits. So you do want to take advantage of that by pre-ordering those today if you've got a lot of cropping to do this fall. What else? Also, as David said, we've continued to roll out some updates on improving HH Image Host and HH Schools. As you've noticed, we've removed those CD delivery option from both the image pack and service item. So those are just web delivery only options now. We've also done some significant upgrades to our Find Customer Orders tool, both in making it easier to find the tool and how fast and effective it works. I'm really excited and proud of the work that Mike and the team have done on that. As well as add some updates to HH Image Host, like adding some second sale products into that catalog. We've added the ability to send test broadcasts if you're working on those marketing campaigns, which I know a lot of you are, because I'm getting a lot of phone calls about that. So we've got some additional updates on that coming out there. And then, as David said, we're getting close to finishing up a couple of big tasks. One of those being the mail to home with tracking service, the other being a virtual team service. So being able to send in the orders to us where we can send those off to our partner Robuku, have your virtual teams created without having to do all of the prep work that normally goes into preparing those teams. You can just prepare the orders like you normally do in HH Schools and still get those virtual teams created. So more details on both those things to come, but do be looking for those services coming in the very, very near future. That being said, let's get on to the main event. Let's get on to the main topic here. So like I said, fall's begun. So is the excitement. So have some of the changes. And for many of us, or many of you that honestly we spoke with this summer, it sounded like you were going to be doing even better than where you were this time 2019 fall season. And that's really exciting news. And we just want to check in and see how's that actually panning out for you. So question one, I'll go ahead and unmute yourselves, is how is this fall starting out compared to fall of 2019? For those of you that can remember that far back, how is this fall comparing for you?
Crazy.
Crazy. In a single word, he says crazy. Can I buy a vowel? Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so, the one thing I guess that I should have anticipated that I didn't is, and knock on wood, very blessed for this aspect, but sales totals are up. And I think part of that is due to the lack of people maybe buying pictures last year and things of that nature. I've had several of my bigger high school footballs that are varsity programs, junior high or junior varsity and freshman programs, where I've seen anywhere from a 35 to 50% increase in buy rate, and the number of kids is still the same. And so I've kind of seen that across the board with my bigger, with my high school football teams anyway, which is a good problem to have. But I knew we would be back to shooting teams here in Texas, back to the old way of being able to put kids on risers and doing all of that stuff. Yeah. I have had a couple of schools who've said, hey, Clay, we're doing it in the gym. We're taking them one at a time, and you're going to have to build it because A, they didn't want to go in the heat, and B, they thought it was faster. So as much as I hate to do that, I've done it. But at the same time, the one thing, and even with high school volleyball, the one thing that I didn't see coming was the additional buy rates. And I just believe it has to be because parents didn't buy pictures last year, or kids weren't in school, or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of my story.
That's great.
Texas.
That's great.
Yeah. 35 to 50% higher. Wow.
Yeah.
Those are some huge numbers, sir.
It's
Those are some
been,
huge numbers.
it's been very thankful, but it's been crazy.
Good, good. I'm glad to see you busy and pulling your hair out there, sir.
Yeah, I
Good
already
work.
did.
Yeah, too late. Somebody else, tell me how is this fall compared to 2019 for you?
Well, I'll go. I'm not sure. I have a
Okay.
homeschool co-op, and a homeschool co-op has done a lot of transitions, and they're the people who are running it. So, there's also another photographer whose kids go there. So I do know that they already had their staff photos taken by her. I don't know if that means, I think they're still in a lot of transition and learning process. So
Mhm.
I may not know anything as to whether even they want me to photograph them. And I don't think it's anything I've done. I just think it's just a matter of like a whole bunch of people that were there and that were very good communicators have left. And now it's like, and now we have to figure it all out, and we're not ready to make a decision. And I'm like, okay, but I want to at least hear back from them. I've sent some emails, haven't heard a thing. And then of course I got this new school that I've like, I don't know. I mean, I have zero idea if that's going to be good or bad. And then my other school was one that I did in March of last year. And it's a state school, but we just photographed the seniors, and I'm like, okay, maybe next year we need to wait for September because it was 94 degrees. And I'm sure it was like 90 when I was out there at 8:30 in the morning, but oh my goodness, we got some great pictures of them. So I'm really happy. They bought some last year, but like last year there was like 2 months for the parents to even, purchase and even get the information. So anyway, we'll see. I really don't know. I have a good bunch of like second seniors that I'll be photographing. So those are kind of my solid clients. I don't know. We just bought a house. So I'm like, it's okay if I'm not that busy.
Yeah, though I tell you, we are still hearing people getting calls from schools as well and asking for picture days. So keep your eyes peeled for those kinds of inquiries. And sometimes they can be good schools, and sometimes they can be not good schools. So you have to be careful. But people are still getting phone calls every day. I'm hearing from folks saying, booked another school, booked another district. It's a little crazy, but it's happening.
Yeah. And I did get a cheer from I do softball. Sorry. Do softball for the past 5 years, just at one school. And they literally were like, hey, can you do our cheer banners this year? And so I just, it was something small, not a big job, but it's just their seniors, but still, I mean, it's a little added something that, unexpected, but after 5 years, you get a little growth and maybe a couple more people will notice. So
that's right. That's right. What were you going to say, Scott?
I was just going to say I can second that on additional calls because I've had 2 of them this fall already. Schools that have called me. The downside has been they've wanted it done same week, and they were looking for someone that could do it same week that they called. So it was call on Monday, shoot Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm just sitting here going, on one hand, I probably could if I was available. I wasn't on either situation, but there was no way it was going to be profitable in that time frame. So they are definitely looking. We just got to figure out a way to get them to give us the time we need to make it beneficial to both parties.
Yep.
Right. Because I can imagine a short term like that, parents aren't going to have very much time to prepare for picture day either.
Yeah. And that's what I ran into. So for those on the call that don't know me, I'm very small volume right now when it comes to volume photography. I have 2 high schools that I do sports for. I picked up the second one last year specifically because of COVID and because I shoot virtual teams. And so when you ask the question 19 to now, on one hand, it's fantastic. We're so much better off. We had that second school this past Saturday, and our sales on Image Host alone were a lot more than I expected them to be. And then I've got a whole stack of envelopes over here I've got to go through today.
Nice.
So it was great. The first school, our starting school that we started this with, was terrible. So, but we have other issues there. We can't seem to get the entire athletic department on board at the same time. And so we're having to make multiple trips, and getting forms passed out is an issue, and getting time scheduled is an issue. And so it's just, they're not very organized, and it's a pain. But then we have schools. The one that really excited me is one we've been trying to get into for a couple of years down the road from us at Cabot High School. Their football program alone for their varsity football teams, 160 kids. And that's more than my flagship school. The first one I'll shoot all year for them. But getting them to understand, they're so big, they're used to people bending to how they want it done, and we just couldn't do it. So it'll be a challenge.
Well, good job taking those steps and thinking that through. How's it go? Sometimes you want an agreement so badly, that's exactly how you get it. And you want to avoid those. Be smart.
Yeah, that was exactly where we were. I mean, I was sitting here on one hand jumping up and down when I noticed who it was on my call log, and then sitting there going, yeah, I really want this job. I really want this job. But knowing good and well, it would cost me all my profits from my other school if I took it. So,
yep. Well done.
David.
Hi, Bob.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
We lost all three of our sports teams to parents who were part-time photographers, and because they had access to the labs pushing volume right now, got ahead of me. The
Wow.
saddest one is I had an appointment and I showed up and set up for it, and they were so embarrassed to tell me that no one came. And I came and there are no kids. And they had shot ahead of me with a different group.
Oh, that's brutal.
Oh man.
I'm
Sorry to hear that.
65 in 2 months. I think it's time to throw in the towel. Because I don't have the energy to fight people who are rude, have no grace, who don't understand a promise. And it makes me want to cry after, this is my 50th year as well. But I just can't deal with people who lie.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It is. So that's where I'm at. And they were good teams, I had good relationships, but a parent in the group had a better relationship.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've heard of that happening, man. I'm sorry to hear that for you.
So I'll
really
leave you
am.
with my last thought. There are too
What's
many
that?
deer in the island, and they're all chasing the same foliage. So,
Yeah.
But thanks. I appreciate everything you've done for us.
Yep. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking and
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
see
Thanks,
what's
Sean.
coming. Yep.
Sure. All right, time for one more person before we move on to the next part of the conversation. Somebody else tell me, how has this fall started off compared to fall 2019? One more person. Anybody?
Okay, I'll go. Going good. We've shot about how many guide now? 4 schools. Sales have been up. And I'm sure some of that is just because people are happy to be able to buy photos. Although all of our schools, were able to buy fall photos last year as well. Remember, we're in Texas, we go to school no matter what. And but I also think I'm seeing a good increase because of the marketing funnel. I'm liking it.
Wow. That means a lot coming from you, Lois. I know you did a lot. You did a lot of email marketing on your own outside of our system. I know that. So that means a lot.
And I pushed you, but it's working out good.
Great.
Yeah. No, I appreciate all your feedback. I really do.
And as
I
I
really
told
do.
you guys the other day, parents are loving the new feature that they can order for all their kids at one time at that school. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about that. So,
Good.
and almost all the orders are online. Last year we saw a great big growth in online orders.
Right.
This year it's even more because of that. I think it's just they like doing it.
Okay.
So
All right. So that pendulum's not swinging back. It's kind of staying over there. Wow.
I think that's one of the good things about COVID is that parents learned how to use, older parents learned how to use QR codes, because if they went to a restaurant, they had to look at the menu that way. They got used to ordering things online and they realized it's easier. And I really plug that it's a much more secure way for me to get the orders, because then the orders don't get lost in the backpacks and left in there for weeks. So I'm happy it's easier.
Wow.
That's great.
And I just want to go back to saying, you said one of the good things about COVID. That had to sound weird coming out, but I do agree with you. Like as much as there's been awful things that come from COVID, there has been some silver lining too. And I agree with you. I think this is something that has helped a lot of our businesses, is this online adoption and the mobile device usage for ordering and updates and those sort of things. So I'm with you there. I think that's been a huge help to our businesses for sure. For sure. All right, let's move on. So talked about how this falls compared to 2019. Let's talk about how this falls compared to where we thought it was going to be a month ago. What changes have you run into in this past couple of weeks that you weren't really anticipating? Starting off here, let's start off with an easy one. I'm hearing from sports photographers that many of you are having to push back sports picture days because uniforms aren't being delivered on time. Who's fallen victim to that? Anybody? Clay, how are you handling that situation, man?
Well, usually it comes straight from the coach. I mean, that we're having to reschedule, and I'm going ahead and asking for those dates now. Hey,
Yeah.
I know it's up in the air, but I at least got to get you on the calendar, because I'm already working on booking basketball, and I work 60 to 90 days in advance of what I'm shooting from a scheduling standpoint. And so I get concerned when coaches say, hey, I can't do it today. I'm going to have to wait until my off week later in the season. Well, when their off week falls later in the season, I don't want to be booked up so that I can't take care of their pitchers. So I'm trying to go ahead and give them a date for me now, even though it's tentative and I know that it may move. But let's at least forecast, is it going to be 3 weeks? Is it going to be 6 weeks? Is it 9 weeks before you get your uniforms? I mean, they're already playing games in these uniforms. And I've also told these people, because a lot of my volleyball people go into a fall sports program. And I've said, look, if I don't take your pictures here in August or at the 1st of September, you're not going in that program, and you're going to have a lot of unhappy parents. So one, I'll reschedule if that's what you want to do. But if you're worried about parents complaining because their daughter's not in the program, let's just take in old uniforms. I can come back at the end of the year if I have to and retake if you make the playoffs or something like that, take a specialty picture. So that's kind of the way I'm handling the uniform situation. I don't, if somebody else has a better suggestion, I'm open for it.
Yeah. No, I love your idea of using last year's uniforms. I'm sure they hate that idea. But I'm also wondering how that affects senior banner sales, because I know senior banners is a big part of your business in addition to the packages, right?
That is true. But I'm just trying to get as much out there as I can. I mean, I know it's not the uniforms that they're wanting. and a lot of coaches, especially that want those materials up in the gym, they're committed to getting something up in whatever kind of uniform they currently have. They always know we can make, because that's ultimately what's going to happen is they're going to end up midway through the season getting their uniforms and all of that. But at least they've got product in their gymnasium of a uniform, and we're just making it work that way.
Totally. And what kind of notice are you getting from the coaches that, hey, uniforms aren't here, we got to reschedule? Is it the day before?
Yeah, typically 2 days before or a day before I'm about to show up, because they've waited till the very last minute to notify me, hey, Clay, I'm not going to be able to take pictures tomorrow because my uniforms haven't come in. I thought they would, and so then we start running the gamut there of, hey, let's either stick to it and just go with old uniforms, or if you want to move, if I'm not doing any banners, then I don't have a problem moving them. So it just kind of depends on the situation.
Got it. Somebody else, Lindsay, I think I saw you raise your hand. How are you dealing with this? Oh, 1 second. Oh, we got a phone call. All right. We're going to pass from Lindsay on to someone else. Who else had their hand raised up?
So we had a similar problem with the school that we did Saturday. Their football field isn't ready. Now, because we shoot everything virtually, it didn't really affect us as far as our ability to shoot, because we shoot indoors. We shoot in their gymnasium. But because their football field isn't ready, their team isn't getting to practice at their football field. They're having to drive 20 minutes away from the school, sometimes a little longer, to get to practice. So they couldn't be there. And so we had to reschedule the football program. And so, that was a little more challenging, because I didn't, to Clay's point, I found out, so the photo shoot was Saturday. I found out Thursday football wasn't going to be there. And that's a third of the kids that we were scheduled to photographs. Now I have to go back. But it happens. I mean, it's a casualty of what we're dealing with right now. They are struggling to get their sod in, not the sod, their turf in for their field. So
I think one of the other things you're going to hear, because of some of the COVID stimulus money that schools can get, is they're buying some of the things that fit the rules for the COVID stimulus money, and they're shifting their budgets, which open up projects like you're talking about, like turf or sod or infrastructure or things like that, because they've freed up some money from somewhere else in order to be able to do some of these other projects. So I think you'll find administrators are busier than ever, juggling the short-term window that they have to spend some of this money, and then reallocate the money for another project and actually do both projects. So you may find school administrators tougher to get a hold of because of these, and these are 6-7 digits that are coming through for some of the stimulus dollars for schools.
Wow. All right. Let's move on from sports and talk about some schools here. So we've talked about it a little bit, and I think we're going to end up talking a little bit more about it here shortly. We're hearing that different states have passed some laws requiring suicide prevention hotline and some other mental health support lines being printed on the student ID cards in response to some of the teen suicide rates and some of the depression amongst teen rates being increasing drastically over these past few years. Anybody running into that in their particular area? David, talk to us, man.
So obviously in the state of California, we were one of the first and to do that. And it's through, it begins with junior high. And the first time I delivered those to the school with this, I felt bad. It was just like, wow, this is heavy. this is heavy. You know, these junior hires are getting this on the back of their ID cards. So one of my accounts suggested, hey, let's just put required by the state of California. That way parents don't freak. And I thought it was the greatest thing. So now I've done it on all of our junior high and high school stuff. One of my accounts, which is a large private school that goes K through 12, they don't even require it. So, but a lot of my other accounts do.
Yeah, no, I think we're in the early stages of that, of folks requiring it, not requiring it. But the conversations that I'm hearing is that it seems like it's starting to spread from, California. I've heard of, Michigan, Indiana is another state that's kind of run into that. I think Illinois is another one, that it's kind of going from different state to different state there that's requiring it. And then in some of those situations, I think California is one of those, that in addition to the suicide prevention hotline, you have to have another support line printed on there as well.
I have not heard that yet. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll contact my main lead on that one of my administrators. But
please call your senator. Yes, please do.
I have not heard that yet. There's another template that needs to be made.
Right. Yeah. No, I laugh, but honestly, the whole point behind why this is happening is pretty tragic. It really is unfortunate. And whether we agree that this is a smart decision to put this information on the cards, if it actually helps or hurts, there's an entire separate conversation that we're not going to get into here. But being leaders and vendors of our schools, we need to have their best interests in mind and make sure that they're staying compliant and help solving problems they don't even need to even know exist yet, right?
I'm into year 3 of this, so it's like situation normal. A couple of years ago, with that administrator suggesting as required by the state of California, that did it. Easy peasy. Now, we got a couple calls. What is this?
Well, we're concerned,
but
so
not enough to be useful. So
got it. And I know I'm hearing some folks that, principals like photographers, we like to go to conferences. Principals go to conferences as well, and they talk and share. And so I know I've heard stories of some schools that their state does not require it, but the principal is asking for that, asking that the school have the ability, or that the photographer or whoever their ID card vendor is, put that information on their cards, even though the state is not requiring it yet. So even if you're not one of those, if you're going Texas, dodged a bullet there, you may still have a pop-up principal here or there that are going to be asking for that kind of information. And so with that, like I said, we'll share some more information in the upcoming days. We're putting together a little email that we'll send out to everyone with some more information on it. But the consensus seems to be that the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and then one other support phone line or text line be printed on those cards so that the students have access to that. And that other line that I'm referring to, the reason why I'm being vague about it is because so far it hasn't really said what that line needs to be, just that there has to be another resource available on that card. And so we've seen several photographers, several of you folks make some changes to your ID card layouts as of late. Some of you are putting it on the front of the card. Some of you are moving to a two-sided press ID card in order to do those things where the entire back of the card is just a stock studio background design, where you can have that design printed and it's the same on every single ID card. So as you're running into those situations, know you do have the tools and the capabilities for those sort of things. And if you need help with which ID card layout you need, please feel free to give us a call and we can show you a few different options that hopefully should work within you. This here is a prime reason why we love our studio background ID card so much, is the versatility in allowing us to quickly make changes to ID cards going forward with this sort of thing. So stay tuned on that. Anybody else hearing any other things on those ID cards before we move on? right. Last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up here is I'm hearing of some schools that are running into some staffing issues. I believe it was one of you all was sharing that school got canceled for the year because they couldn't hire enough teachers. Was that anything that you all are hearing in your particular areas that running into staffing issues and are having to move around picture days to accommodate those sort of things of schools being delayed and such?
I just got a phone call, and that's why I put myself off video. And it was the principal of the new school saying, hey, we have a whole bunch of people that are going to be out, and I really don't want to do this with substitute teachers, and we have too many. Is there any way we can reschedule? So I just reached out to my second to, say, hey, can you do either this 2 days on this week or this week? So I literally.
All right. Yeah. Man. So that's, with those unexpected changes that come up, pushing around scheduling dates, that's why, having a good hold on what your calendar, what your availability is going to be very helpful for you. We're seeing lots of folks that are pushing those dates to, Fridays or Mondays, and keeping those schedules locked in for Tuesday through Thursday, and then adding a school or a team here or there on some Mondays as the schedule allows. And so my prayer for you guys is honestly that you guys have the capacity and capability to take advantage of these opportunities, but also know when are these some good opportunities and when are these possibly some opportunities that aren't good business for you, and being able to find those things out quickly.
Yep. And Sean, one other thing that I throw out, I meant to mention this on the state of the lab, but it also applies to the studio, is we're trying to be very proactive and ahead of the curve on our inventory. Our managers have been buying ahead for basically the rest of the season this summer. And we're thankful we're in a position that we can do that cash wise. As you can imagine, that's no joke. But anywhere that you can be ahead of the curve, whether it's scheduling things sooner rather than later, ordering your supplies sooner rather than later, checking in to make sure the picture days are solid, working up the orders quickly, keeping short accounts, keeping very short lead time. Don't let things sit on the shelf. I think you will be so glad that you did that this fall of any fall. This is the fall to be ahead of the curve. This is the fall to move quickly and don't let things sit. It'll give you options if you have time. If you have a backlog, this is going to be a year where a backlog is going to kill you. Whether it's because FedEx doesn't deliver something on time, or a vendor runs out of a supply. Maybe you're buying some camera cards from somebody else or whatever. Just stay on top of things and don't let things sit on a shelf this fall. This will be super important for you to come out looking good. And there will be, those people who wait and let things drag out and accumulate in the backlog and things like that are going to look, by the end of the season, going to look pretty silly. And it will really allow you to differentiate yourself if you stay on top of everything. And you'll look really amazing when other people are really stumbling right now. It's actually not hard to differentiate yourself right now with all the stressors and the craziness going on. Just being organized, being ahead of the curve, being polite, friendly, nice, capable, all of those things make you really stand out. So it's a really great time for you to differentiate yourself, both from people who are not organized and from the big corporations who are really stumbling right now. So it's a great time to make yourself look good.
Yeah. And yeah. And as David said before, if you do have a friend in the Louisiana or Mississippi area, be thinking of them, pray for them, maybe give them a day, but give them a call, check in on them, make sure they're doing okay. as hard as these past few years are, there's always more reasons to be thankful for the blessings that we do have. And so, and knowing that there's some that are struggling a little harder than we are at this point, and that we can be here as a community to help one another, to encourage one another, to support one another. That's really what this is created for. And so this is an opportunity where we can do that. So if you do have someone in that area, please be thinking of them and being praying for them in these next few days and weeks. So with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap it up here, because I know we are all very busy, lots to do. And so I do want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for coming in and being part of today's conversation with your lab. Just to put a bow on this, we just continue to be amazed as we witness these extraordinary changes both across the country and in our own backyard, from the supply fluctuations, price increases, logistic challenges, people challenges and dynamics. You know, we're continuing to see those things unfold day in and day out. Yet in spite of that, there are so many opportunities for us all to be grateful. And so I just want you to know that we are grateful for you. And we remain strong in our commitment to help you grow your business in any way we can, even amidst all the changes that we see coming and even the ones that we don't. We want to be here for you and help you. We want to help you succeed. So if there's anything that we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out. We've got the closed Facebook group, the HH Schools users group. You can always call us if something is urgent and important, especially those technical issues. Please give us a call here at the lab, 800-821-1305. Otherwise, you guys have a great, fantastic week. Have a great Labor Day. And I look forward to our next conversation with your lab. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.